Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of The Curious Cat. Joining me here in the somewhat sunny Okanagan. Unfortunately, we're blanketed with this smoke, as you can see. This is Okanagan Lake behind me, and we've been just caked in smoke for the last at least 4 days, I guess, 4 or 5 days. So just making the best of it down here on the water. But today I'm going to be speaking about the Bitcoin markets. We had some pretty massive news as Michael Saylor of MicroStrategy just allocated 100% of their cash reserves into Bitcoin. Just a massive move. They purchased $425 million worth of Bitcoin, totaling a little over 38,000 Bitcoin, and essentially dumping all of their cash holdings. I think they left just a little bit, obviously, to maintain operations for their company, but they took all of the cash holdings that they had and they went all into Bitcoin. Pretty exciting news. I mean, they could have diversified. They could have put some into gold, some into silver, that kind of stuff. They could have diversified into real estate and all that, but they didn't. They went 100% into Bitcoin. And if you kind of learn about this guy's story, you can see that he was very, very early in a lot of his calls and kind of got ahead of the curve on a lot of these trends, and that's how he's been so successful. And this guy just tends to hit home runs. Everything he touches seems to turn to gold. It's pretty unbelievable, his story. Just listen to the podcast and the interview with Michael Saylor, and a very interesting story and how it came about. And so I just think it's fantastic news for the Bitcoin market. And I think as these high net worth individuals like Michael himself start to buy and acquire Bitcoin, it's really going to put the pressure on these other high net worth individuals and larger corporations to start hedging somewhat and acquiring some Bitcoin, because they don't want to be wrong with this call. A lot of people are still unsure about Bitcoin, but at the same time, you don't want to wait too long and be buying Bitcoin once it's over 100,000 per coin. So I think we're still very early on, and I'm just coming to realize my own truth that I am the most excited about Bitcoin. I'm more excited about Bitcoin than anything else. I've been a gold and silver fan for almost 2 decades now, and I've been learning about money and finance, and that's why I've been interested in these harder monies that are limited in quantity and that the governments can't just come counterfeit or print more of anytime they want. So Bitcoin is really leveling the playing field in that regard, where the governments can't just come in and print more of it. If they want more of it, they actually have to buy it and trade something for it. So in my opinion, Bitcoin it just has massive potential. I think there's less and less downside risk as these more influential people buy into the market and choose to hold Bitcoin. It's going to be harder and harder for governments to orchestrate a coordinated attack on the Bitcoin network. And when I say orchestrated attack, I think it would be, trying to outlaw Bitcoin in the majority of the countries, and as more and more of these high net worth individuals buy into the space, and that it just becomes harder and harder for the governments to do this because they will get so much backlash. So I think this is the beginning of a major trend that we're going to see now that Bitcoin has been holding over a $200 million market cap, or 200 billion, sorry, market cap. This is a very large amount of money, and it isn't just a little small fish anymore. This is a big deal. And, we've seen even in the massive market crash back in March, Bitcoin did crash, but it was very momentarily, and it shot right back up almost immediately. And so that goes to show that, markets are voting in favor of Bitcoin. Very few people are, selling for very long. If they sold, they're buying back in at the bottom, and the price bounced right back up. So this shows me that it's not just a Ponzi scheme. It's not going away. It's been here for 11 years now, and we're just seeing more and more high net worth individuals come into the space and start to acquire Bitcoin. And I think that will only continue as the governments let inflation run hot. And when we start to look at inflation in real terms, we saw over the past year In real terms, it might have been closer to 25-30% inflation on real goods that we actually need and use. So, of course, we all know they skew the numbers when they're talking about inflation, and they use all kinds of metrics that they tweak to come up with the numbers that they want. But we all know in real terms, the stuff that we actually want, like real estate and businesses and assets, uh, all went up astronomically in value compared to these fiat currencies. So more and more people that are holding cash, like this Michael Saylor, are starting to ask questions and starting to wonder why bother holding cash when everyone is saying cash is trash and it's devaluing at such an alarming rate. So, as this inflation continues to skyrocket, as these governments continue to print these currencies into the ground, more and more people are looking to get out of these currencies, especially if they start to move to negative rate territory. Then you're either paying to have savings, or you sell your fiat and you get into something like gold, silver, or Bitcoin. So there's not too many lifeboats available while they crash these currencies. And so that, in my opinion, is going to offer tremendous upside in a lot of these assets. And me personally, I see the most upside in Bitcoin. I do see it as having more risk than gold or silver, but at the same time, I see it having way more upside potential, as it offers a lot more utility, in my opinion, than gold. So if you want to have a safe store of value with very little risk, then go into something like gold. But if you're willing to take a little more risk and you want to have exposure to that much more upside, then you should definitely start learning about Bitcoin and some of these other assets. Me personally, I'm only really interested in Bitcoin and maybe just a handful of other crypto assets. But at the moment, I'm mainly interested just in Bitcoin and maybe, like I said, just a couple others. But Bitcoin has to succeed before these others succeed, and Bitcoin was the first one out of the gate. And when you look at its market cap, I think it's just too big to fail at this point. So I'm mainly interested in acquiring more Bitcoin, and it's been quite an interesting journey for myself of learning how to acquire Bitcoin and how to store it and how not to get emotional. I definitely lost about half my Bitcoin in trying to trade it and getting emotional about it. And so I've learned some pretty valuable lessons that I hope to share with you guys so that you don't make the same mistakes. But you guys, this is a critical time to start paying attention. And in my opinion, I don't think we're going to be at these prices for much longer. I personally think this is not investment advice, but I think that Bitcoin's probably going to 10x sometime in the next year to 2 years. Well, at least 4x, I think 4 to 10x, somewhere in that neighborhood. I think we're going to see a big surge up to probably 40,000 or 100,000, and then it'll probably crash back down to 30,000 or something. But anyways, I do hope to acquire as much as I can before we have this next surge during this highly inflationary environment. And as major corporations and high net worth individuals look to diversify and get out of dollar holdings, as these governments just destroy the purchasing power of these dollars. So, yeah, very exciting news. I think it's definitely paying off to pay attention to the trends and watch what's happening in these markets so that we can hopefully make the right decisions with our own money and protect ourselves and create more prosperity in our own life. Because if we're going off the old way of doing things just by trying to work a day job and save our money, you can see that that's just not working anymore in this environment. Your dollars are being inflated away and their purchasing power is being destroyed. I've learned this the hard way by holding a lot of my money in cash, and now it's pretty much worthless. I wouldn't say worthless, but it has lost 65 to 70% of its purchasing power in just over 10 years. So it's a trend that is happening very quickly, and if you're not paying attention, you are riding it down, and you are really creating fragility in your own life as you kind of have all your eggs in one basket, per se. And if you're busy earning dollars that are constantly devaluing, you're not really creating prosperity for you or your family, and you're not diversified, and you're not protecting your wealth and your assets. So just something to think about. I like to follow the trends. I like to see what these high net worth individuals are doing. I highly recommend checking out the podcast with Pomp. You can find it on YouTube. Maybe if I figure out, I'll leave a link below. But just very exciting to see some of these forward-thinking minds and how they come to the conclusion to dump $425 million into the Bitcoin market. And they did it very covertly without spiking the price, which I really like. They purchased it over 78,000 transactions. So they spread it out over, I think, 4 weeks, and they managed to acquire that much Bitcoin without even spiking the price. So pretty slick moves. Props to you, Michael Saylor. Very excited for this. Yeah, congratulations. I think you're going to be one happy individual that you did this. I mean, you are taking risk, but I think you'll be handsomely rewarded. So hopefully some of us can learn from some of you smarter folks out there, and we can try and follow some of your moves so that hopefully we can shelter some of our own wealth and create more prosperity in our lives. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I do plan on doing some more interviews with people and stuff coming up. It's just kind of been a funny time. I've been quite secluded out here and just kind of figuring some stuff out in my own life, but I do plan on having some interesting people on the show and not just being a talking head. So hopefully I can bring you guys some more great content and keep it a little more exciting for you guys. Please like the video if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, share it with some friends and family, and I will see you guys in the next video.